So hi, I'm glad to invite y'all back. I'm doing a series I'm calling Palms Up mini series, and this is the reason it's called that is because this is a yoga mudra. I can't remember the exact term, but it's basically for staving off fear. So I want to do palms up during this pandemic, and I'm inviting awesome, amazing people to connect with. I've been so fortunate to be connected with amazing friends and colleagues, and so I'm happy to introduce my friend Sorana Blackfoot. So will you introduce yourself to everybody, please?
Thank you, Kim. So my name is Sorana, and I am a prosperity mentor for my core business. I work primarily with women, and I help them build better relationships with their money because they are mostly afraid to ask because they don't want to look bad. And most of them think they're bad with numbers. Sometimes that's the truth, sometimes it's not, but they just feel like that. So I'm on a mission to help them embrace their relationship with money and ignite a love affair with their personal money. And I'm also
I love
the
that.
founder and organizer of BRIL Conference, which just happened on Friday, the 20th. And BRIL stands for Business Resources for Inspiring Leaders. It's a women business conference where we teach women how to design the business of their dreams.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yes, BRIL Conference 2020 happened on Friday. And so I appreciate you talking with me because I know that was a major effort. So thank you,
Yes, it was.
to say the
Yes,
least,
it
right?
was.
So that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is what's it like to throw a conference and then, oh, a pandemic comes up right in the middle of it?
Yeah, the whole month of March, it was like, I wish it had already happened because beginning of the month, we were straight. We were good until we weren't. So we had to shift and pivot
Exactly.
in the last 2 weeks.
Exactly.
But I think we were blessed and fortunate in a couple of ways. First of all, because this was our third year. And thank you, Kim, for being on my BRIL team.
Okay.
And because we were in our third year, we kind of had it down as far as what needed to be done in order for it to happen the traditional, regular, in-person way.
Yeah.
And then when the whole tipping point happened with no more in-person events, then we had to scramble a little bit and figure out how we could do it. But at the same time, we knew the other stuff was already done. So we only needed to worry about the new challenge.
So let me just back up for a second. So the previous two conferences, BRIL conferences, we had them in person, and it was an all-day affair. And
Right.
you had speakers lined up who came in person and presented. And so you had a venue booked for this year. You had the speakers booked for this year. And so we were going to have it in a new location, but everything else was going to be very similar agenda-wise.
Right. So this was our third year, and the original concept was an in-person conference talking all day about business. So women that own a business or are thinking about starting a business can learn the different aspects regardless of the industry that they're in. So we bring speakers from out of state. We also have local speakers, and it is a 9 to 5 type of deal, all-day conference where they get to hang out, meet, listen to the speakers, have lunch, all of that. And yes, we do have different venues. Every year we've been at a different one. And this time we were excited about a conference center because before we had been in hotels. So we were going to be at a conference center. It looked nice. We're talking about how we were going to decorate it. We're talking about the food we're going to have, all of that, which were all details that we normally would have to handle.
Right.
And then everything got thrown in the air. Because
Right.
once we found out that we couldn't do it, we were trying to figure out, should we still have the speakers together, so that way we can just broadcast whatever they were talking, but they would be there, which posed
Right.
some different challenges with speakers from out of town because they didn't really want to travel to speak in front of a camera. So we had all of this unknowing that was happening. And I think that was the biggest challenge to handle. Because
Right.
once we figured out, okay, the in-person is out totally, we have to do online, then we got into, okay, we got to do ABC, we got to do XYZ, and then it just made sense. But
Right.
until then, it was this challenge of what can we do and how we're going to do what we can do, but we don't know what we can do.
Right.
So that was the biggest, I think, hurdle to overcome for the last 2 weeks.
Right. I think too, and tell me if I'm wrong, but if the restrictions kept changing, and so
Right.
it was like trying to make decisions, and then you would reach a decision for that particular point, and then, oh, that changed. Like it was like, well, you can't have a meeting with, was it 50 people or more? Was that
Yeah.
the
Well,
one
it
of
was
the
50 originally,
guidelines?
right? So it was 50
Right.
originally. We decided we're still gonna move on. We're gonna do this because we don't have 50. Because once the whole craziness started happening, people stopped registering. So we didn't reach 50
Right.
because of that. And I think we probably would
Right.
have had it not happened that way.
I
But
think so.
because it happened that way, we were somewhere around 40-ish. So we
Yeah.
figured, okay, we can do it. We have a room that actually is designed to fit 80, so people can be 3 feet apart. We can do the social distancing. We just don't have to hug each other
Right.
that day. We'll be fine. And we went, we looked at the room, we talked about decorating it. The people at the place said, yes, you can come, we're good.
Yeah.
Then that happened exactly with 2 weeks to go. So it was the Monday of the week before.
Right.
And then as stuff was happening, then speakers were like, well, I don't really want to travel because I'm coming from far, but I can be on
Right.
Zoom. Well, but if this person doesn't travel, should I travel? Because I'm also coming from a different state. So
Right.
all of this started happening. Then local people started saying, are you still doing it? And how are you going to do it? I felt very strongly about people choosing because at that point we still had a choice. So I
Right.
decided to send everybody an email and say, hey, let me know if you want to come in person or if you want to do it via live stream, and we can accommodate either one. So we were not just shifting from this path to this path, but we were shifting from this one to this one, and then from this one to this one, and then from this one
Right.
to this one. So that also created this uncertainty because we didn't know what we could do or we couldn't do. And once we found out what we could do, then we couldn't do it anymore. So it was just a
Exactly.
craziness of not knowing by then what would still be available. So
Right.
then with like 2-3 days before, so like Tuesday of the BRIL week, so BRIL happened Friday, the Tuesday before, so 3 days beforehand, I got a call and an email from the venue saying they're shutting down for 2 weeks. So
Right.
then I knew, okay, well, that was out, which we had already decided, and I was going to call them. Actually, they were on my list of people to contact and say, hey, we're not going to do this because people have said that they didn't want to come in person. They were going to attend live stream. So we had to just totally say, okay, we're definitely going to be online. We know we can't do more than 10 people, and it's okay because we don't really want to do 10 people because then we need to look for a place to go to. We didn't really want an 80 people room because
Right.
that would not have made sense. So it was all of this stuff constantly in my head. The other thing that happened at the same
Yeah.
time was that people were asking me, are you still doing it or are you postponing? Are you still doing it or are you postponing? Well, the problem with
Right.
postponing was the fact that we would have had to figure out a different date.
Right.
And because of all this unknowing, all this uncertainty, we didn't know what date we could choose. because if we went a week out, then chances were we may not be able to do it even, I mean, not a week, a month, I'm sorry. If we had done it in April, we couldn't have known, and obviously a few days later, we still don't know, and things may get worse. So most likely we couldn't have done it in April. May was a big question mark because we don't know if things will be done. I mean, there's rumors about us being isolated for 8 weeks and so forth. So we don't know. Summer is not a good time to have a conference where you want people to come together because everybody's going each and every way. And then if we went all the way into fall, then that had other sets of problems. So it was just a whole constant thinking of, okay, scenario number 1 is not working. Scenario number 2 is not working. Scenario number 3 may be working, but we don't know. There's still too much that can change. Scenario number 4 may or may not work, but we don't know what the law may say by then. So it was all this, like, I was wishing it had already happened. So now that it's behind us, it feels like this huge burden has been lifted that is just not there anymore. Like, it's not running like in my head like a little hamster on the wheel, because that's kind of how it felt.
It sounds like it wasn't it in addition to planning a conference, which in and of itself is a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of things to consider, but this added a heavy, let's call it a mental load of, oh my God, what do I do now? And making those decisions, and things are changing. And like you said, it wasn't like you went from here to here. It was like you made all these incremental little decisions along the way, and they were exhausting, because then you're also having people going, hey, are we still having this? And it's like, hold please.
Right. And I didn't want to send an email out too early saying what we were going to do, because I didn't know. And we did have the live stream plan already, because we were going to look into offering that, but we didn't know how it was going to work. And also we didn't know if we could do that by having people be at multiple locations. The idea was one camera at the conference, and that was that. So that was a totally different set of issues that we had to navigate. And I would say that I feel very blessed. And you said, Kim, at the beginning that you feel blessed for the connections you have. I do that as well. And I'm very, very grateful for having great friends like you, like Diana, that's been helping from year 1, and like Amy that came on the team this year because she knew how to handle this. And for me, okay, I figured out, okay, we should do live stream, but I have no idea how to do that. So knowing or making the decision to go one way is one thing, but then having the capability to actually pull it off, it's a different thing. And the big hurdle that we had was we only had 2 weeks to go through all of this, and really a few days, because like I said, we weren't already deciding 2 weeks in advance. We decided about 3 days in advance that this is just how it's going to be. So to be able to do all of that in such a short period of time is nothing short of a miracle, truly. Absolutely. Because if we had scheduled it from 6 months ago, or actually 10 months ago when we first started planning it, that would have been totally different, because we would have had a game plan, we would have known what to do, all of that. But we didn't, because that wasn't the idea. So just actually for all of us to pull together, for all the speakers to show up and be 100% present and to present and to really give so much of themselves, it just, in the middle of all this mess, in the middle of all this craziness, it just for me brought this moment of huge gratitude for everybody, because everybody was understanding and just nice through this. Like, they were all willing to pitch in and to help and to do their part and to make sure that they make it easy for those of us that had to go through all of this. So I really and truly appreciated every single one of them, because they were all there 100%. They were on YouTube answering questions. They were in the green room talking to each other and sharing information. It was just a good, like, vibe moment all around.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I want to go back to something that you said, because I think that makes such a big difference. in talking about having this ability to pivot, I think a lot of it is because of the connections that you have, the people, and I'm so blessed to be your friend, and the wonderful group.
Same here.
And Amy Gorelick from Power Up Video having that ability, and the fact that, and I guess I'm breaking it down to basics, but the fact that you do have connections, that you network, you are friends with, your colleagues, with people who have these other skill sets, means that you had the ability to pivot at this, you know, and make all those decisions.
Short moment notice.
Exactly. But also the connections of everybody pulling together, the speakers being like, yeah, I'm willing to be flexible. The attendees being like, yeah, I'm willing to be flexible so that we can make this happen. I love what you're talking about, all of us pulling together. I think that's something that really shines through to me, as far as, you know, yes, it was really rough this year doing BRIL, but you made it happen. And I put this on Facebook too, but I think you're inspired leadership to be able to say, you know what, we're just going to keep going. We're going to make this happen, you know, through all those decisions, was really admirable, because boy, you could really let yourself be like, okay, I'm going under the bed now, and I'll be out next week. Bye-bye, you know?
so I would say this. I think that the only true quality or true credit that I can take 100% of being mine is that I'm very stubborn. And from there, I think everything else kind of falls into place, because I was just determined that whatever happened, this was going to happen, because I just, first of all, failing was not an option. It couldn't not happen.
Right.
Canceling it, like totally not having it, was not an option for a lot of reasons. Most importantly, for the reason that too many people know me and I can't just do that to them.
Right.
Because as you said, yes, I have really good connections, but in order to maintain those connections, you have to also always have integrity and stick to what you say you're going to do. And yes, sometimes it's harder than others. And yes, sometimes you don't do it 100% that way because you have to pivot for one reason or another, but they see you still do it. So I think, to me, that was very important. I learned a long time ago that because of my accent, people have a tendency to remember what I say because they pay attention, because they're afraid they may not understand. So because of that, when I say something, I mean it, and then I follow through with what I say, because I know people will remember. Nice. And I think that that's where these deeper connections come from, because I make sure that I follow through and I follow up, and I do keep in touch with people. Yes, some I talk to more than others. Yes, some are closer friends than others, but we all have a certain degree of closeness, of proximity, not necessarily in person, but just kindred spirits type of connection.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that you also attract the same type of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are a lot of speakers out there that may be divas, but then I don't think I'm attracted to those kind of people. So I don't think that those people would come. And if they did come, they wouldn't have really too much of a choice but roll with it, because that's just how I am.
Right.
And, you know, it's just when it's your show, I think you get to have a little bit of power over some people. Yeah. And not in a bad way. And I'm not saying you need to use that for any type of bad purpose. But what I'm saying by that is that however you lead, that's how people will follow. So had I said, well, I don't know what's going to happen with this. Let's talk about seeing later, and maybe we won't do it this year. Let's look into next year, and da-da-da. I don't think that would have vibed well with everybody, and I think everybody would have backed out, because it's not their baby, it's my baby. Right. So if I don't believe in it, if I don't represent it, if I don't give it my all, why would they?
Yeah. Oh, that's
so huge. I felt very strongly that this is a good thing, that this can help people and it can deliver really good information to people. So I wanted to make sure that the information gets delivered. And I also wanted to make sure it gets delivered now. Because besides the fact that, okay, we tell people this is how you get on Instagram, or hey, this is how you introduce yourself to people, and this is why you should write a book because it makes you an expert. Besides the actual technical stuff, they also learn from us that you can pivot. They also learn from us that, yes, when we say you should write a book, we don't necessarily say you should go around hugging people to give them autographs on the book, but you can still publish it and you can still make it important.
Right.
So we can show people how all of this technical stuff can be done in different environments. And I think that was important as well.
Oh, that's huge. I love that. I love the, to go back to what you were saying, the closeness of having kindred spirits, that I had sort of a, to steal from Oprah, an aha moment where
you are a kindred spirit, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely, a kindred spirit. But the closeness that we have, it doesn't matter if it can't be a physical proximity right now. We still have that closeness. It's sort of an invisible bond that we have. And then also, I love what you're saying about how you lead people is how they follow. And that's huge. And the fact that all of us saying, not just saying that, like you said, the messages we had, but saying, hey, watch me, I can pivot, you can do this too, I think will give some courage. Because I think there are people out there, and like you said, because we are kindred spirits, we tend to be pretty fearless and, dare I say, badass. And it's like, okay, I'm still going to do this. Whereas I think some people would be intimidated by that and be like, oh, whoa, I can't do that. And it's like, no, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to get done. And we shared so much great information on Friday. I was really proud of us.
Yes, so. I took lots of notes actually, because I was there just like everybody else learning. I mean, all of these people, when I decide to reach out to anybody and ask them if they are interested in being a speaker, I do that because I believe what they have to say is very valuable. So of course I want to learn too. It's not just about the other people learning, because I'm sure they have some that I can use as well. So I look at all of that.
Right.
I attend with the eye of the organizer to make sure stuff is done and all of that. But I also attend with the eye of the participant, because I want to know that they have a good experience, that they have stuff to learn as well.
Right.
Because otherwise, why are we meeting? Okay, we like each other. Well, let's have coffee. We chat for 2 hours and we're done. We don't have to spend a whole day together listening to each other.
Right.
So it has to be value. Right. So you have to look at all of that, And I also want to say that I do feel very blessed with the attendees that we had. And you mentioned that earlier, that people were also flexible, and that's true. Some of them didn't really like the fact that it wasn't in person because they wanted the extra experience of connecting and all that. But they understood that this is something that we've never had to do, and most likely we won't have to do it this way. But right now, it's just what we have to do. So they just kind of went with it because they saw us being passionate about the fact that this has to happen and about the fact that we wanted to share this information with them. And then they decided that they were willing to receive the information. They were willing to watch and listen and ask questions and participate. So I think that the value comes from that as well, in the way that people are reacting, because I feel that people are feeling isolated. I'm out because I just wanted to come out because this is my first time coming out today. So that's why I'm sitting on the steps here. It's not the most comfortable thing, but it's something that I really needed to do right now because I really need some air. Even though it's just 50 some degrees, but it just feels good to be out here. And I feel that people feel like that too. I've been walking around the neighborhood and I've seen bunches of people walking, and I've walked before and there weren't bunches of people walking. So I think people now want to not necessarily connect in a physical, like proximity type of connection, but they just want to be out there and, first of all, take some fresh air, because you can only stand but so much of your inside the house air, but also just kind of see other people and make sure life still goes on. So to
Yeah.
me, that was a measure of normal that we gave people as well. You know, okay, we shifted, we pivoted, we did all of this so we can accommodate the laws and the rules and everybody's health and well-being and all of that. Yes, but ultimately, we still had a normal conference where the content is concerned. They still got the information that they needed to get. They still got the advice. They got the connections that they needed to get. We have strengthened the BRIL community on Facebook. We are on YouTube now where they can go back and see it. So they still got a measure of safety in the fact that it's safe to do this. It's okay. They got permission to reach out, to study for their business, to get all of this in them. So I
Right.
think that was also important in this time of disconnection,
Yeah.
because we're more online. I was in training yesterday, I was in training today via Zoom, but it's just different when you have one person talking, even if they say, okay, ask me questions, because most people don't like, okay, now you have 5 minutes, or I've talked to you for 2 hours and now I'm giving you some time to ask questions. People are not going to say, well, an hour and a half ago you said this, da, 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 da. What does it mean? Or give me more information. But the way that we structure the conference with the speaker talking and then ask questions, or this time with the online where we say, okay, well, ask questions anytime and we'll get to them. You know,
Right.
I think that also kind of brought people together, even though they weren't in person together.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think so. So, well, thank you so much, Sorana. I really appreciate you talking with me and sharing this. And I feel, gosh, I was taking notes while you and I were talking.
The video
I
will be
always
on
learn.
YouTube, my friend.
I know, right? Oh, I can go back and watch it later. That's true. But thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording.
Thank you.